If someone asked you to describe the main things about yourself, you'd probably put your gender near the top of the description. Woman or man, it's one of the basic ways we relate to the world around us. And yet, now you're about to meet someone who's going to turn all of that upside down, who wants to challenge your basic assumptions about yourself and your sex. Is gender determined by the body you wear or by the way you see yourself? Before you answer, watch this report from Elizabeth Vargas.
The stately campus of Harvard University. For hundreds of years, students have gone from here to play leading roles in American government, business, medicine. But never before has one blazed a trail quite like Alex Myers.
So when you first came to Harvard, did you think you'd just be another one of the students here?
Yeah, and in a lot of ways I am.
But in one very major way, he is not. Alex Myers may walk like a man, talk like a man, appear to be a man, but he is the first to admit he's no normal guy. Underneath the man's clothing is the body of a woman.
How do you describe yourself to people who ask?
Well, I say I was born female and I was raised as a girl, but I knew my entire life that I was not a woman. And the easiest way to describe myself is to say that I'm more comfortable being addressed as a man than I am as a woman, but my true identity is transgendered.
Transgendered, not fully a man, not fully a woman. He's in between the two and taking a very private matter public.
You know that most people in this world view gender as one thing or the other. You're either male or you're female. You're not something in between. How do you convince those people to change the way they think about gender?
Well, I ask them to think about what makes them who they are and not focus on their body.
I think it's very difficult for us to walk a mile in the shoes of somebody who has problems with gender identity simply because we ourselves never have those kinds of feelings.
Dr. Fred Berlin of Johns Hopkins Medical Center has treated patients diagnosed with a condition the American Psychiatric Association calls gender identity disorder. But Dr. Berlin says just because some people with symptoms are sick does not mean everyone is, including Alex Myers.
Simply feeling that I'm different does not make it a disorder if I'm not impaired or if it's not causing me to be distressed.
Do you think you're mentally ill?
No. I'd like to believe that I am the way I am for a reason and that I'm not ill, and I don't feel like I am.
Some people would say or wonder if you are the way you are because something traumatic happened to you as a child.
I had a very normal, very happy childhood.
When you look at the pictures of you growing up as Alice, with long hair and a little dress, a girl, you look like a little girl, a feminine little girl. Do you ever look at those pictures and think, wow, that's me?
No, because that is me.
Really?
That's my life.
But his life, as far back as he can remember, was a life of looking like a girl named Alice, but not feeling like one.
My first memory of trying to explain this to somebody else was my brother and I had just watched this show, The Dukes of Hazzard.
Just a good old boy.
We decided we were going to play The Dukes of Hazzard, and he, of course, tried to force me into playing Daisy Duke.
Because you were a girl.
Right, well, obviously that was the logical role for me to play. And I told him, I said, I want to jump in and out the car windows. He tried to explain, well, you're a girl, you have to play Daisy. And I just laid the line. I said, look, I can be a boy just as well as you can be a boy.
How old were you when that happened?
5 or 6, maybe. I felt this way my entire life. And I was mistaken or taken as a boy. Basically, from the time I was 8 till the time I was 13 when I grew my hair out to go to Exeter.
By the time he went to Phillips Exeter Academy, an exclusive co-ed boarding school, Alex knew his feelings were more than just tomboyish, but was still struggling to understand them.
I came out as a lesbian in 9th grade. I had always been attracted to women, so it was sort of natural for me, but it was very readily apparent that I wasn't a lesbian.
Why was that apparent?
I was still being treated as a woman, and bottom line is I'm not. And so as soon as I found a transgender community, that's what I came out as.
Alex says that decision was not as complicated as it may sound. He was already wearing men's clothing. He already had short hair. It was mostly a matter of changing his name and telling people.
How did you do that, though? How do you go back to school and tell your friends, don't call me Alice, call me Alex?
It's the most natural thing in the world to do if it's who you are. The people who knew me said, you look a lot happier, you look a lot better, and you sound more like you. And the people who didn't know me were the people who were shocked and flabbergasted and said, oh my God, you're wearing a tie.
How did your teachers react?
That's a mixed bag also.
Did you have teachers pull you aside and say, now, Alice,
Yeah.
stop this?
They would say, well, you can't be successful and live this way. Or they'd say something like, well, I can't wait to your 25th reunion when you come back here with your husband and kids.
But if they thought it was a phase, the people at Exeter were wrong. Alex continued a transgender life when he arrived at Harvard and moved into this dormitory.
When you were in the men's dorm and you shared the bathroom with other men, how did you deal with that? I mean, when you take your clothing off, you look like a woman, correct?
Right. Generally speaking, I try not to be nude in front of anybody, particularly the guys in my hallway. I have no reason to be. The bathroom that I used had only one single shower and one single toilet, so that there was not like gang showers.
So will you have to spend your life avoiding situations where you have to choose men's locker room or women's locker rooms? And
hopefully not.
so what do you do? What will you do?
Who knows?
You're faced with those choices all day long.
Yeah, they're not really on the forefront of my mind. I live and pass as a man in daily life, so I use the men's room. It's not really an issue for me.
So if you were more comfortable in the male role, why not change? Why not become a male? Some people do that. Why? There's surgery, there's hormone treatments.
Because
Why
I'm
not?
already a man, and the body is a small part of my life. What I put into it now is going to seriously affect it. If I start injecting testosterone, what's that going to do to my internal organs? Who knows? And why should I want to have surgery anyway? I'm successful and happy with who I am right now. Hi, how are you?
You have a girlfriend. How did that happen?
Strange, isn't it? A guy like me with a girlfriend, it's very bizarre. A lot of people are surprised that I have a girlfriend, but being transgender doesn't mean people don't love you.
Her name is Lexi Adams.
What kind of relationship do you two have? Is it as a man and a woman or as two women?
No, it's as a man and a woman, but beyond that, I don't like to classify it because gays, lesbians, bisexuals, straight people all define themselves solely by the gender to which they are attracted. And when you put someone like Alex into that rubric, it doesn't match up. You realize that there's a problem with the labels themselves.
Alex says as a transgendered person, he has a unique perspective on society, having lived in both the male and female worlds.
As a woman, when I spoke a lot, I was treated as sort of pushy, as sort of a know-it-all, someone who was just talking to show off. And as a man, when I came back, the fact that I talked a lot was more of an expression of my so-called intelligence. I was made to feel like somehow when I said something and I was a man, it was valued more.
You care about Alex. Regardless of what happens with the two of you, are you ever concerned about what's going to happen to him as he leaves the East Coast, leaves Harvard, where he's going to eventually go to places where people aren't as tolerant?
I have worried before, but now I've mostly realized that he has such strength of character and that wherever he goes, he will make his own place there.
What do you want in your life? Do you want to eventually...
A white picket fence, cats, kids, no,
Seriously, though, I mean, do you ever think about that?
Sure, it's hard to say. I look forward to graduating and to finding a career in whatever I end up doing, and being happy.
But does it bother you that no matter what you do and no matter how reasonable you might sound, some people will believe, no matter what you say, that there's something very wrong with you?
Some people would think that because I'm Jewish, too. You're always going to run into bigots. People are going to be biased against me because I went to Harvard. People are going to say, oh, you're privileged. If people don't like you, they're not going to like you. And I can't dwell on those people. If I want to live my life, I'm going to live my life. I am many more things than just a transgendered person, and I want to live that way.
And we welcome correspondent Elizabeth Vargas to Primetime. Why not let Shakespeare have the final word on all of this? He writes of all of us. God has given you one face, you make yourselves another.